What's going on, everybody? So, I'm back today to talk about another film. I mentioned in my last video, I recently went on vacation to Florida to go to Disney World because I'm an adult child and I love going to the Disney parks and amidst my older age. There's something about it that's just so much fun. I have problems with the Disney organization, obviously. I don't think they're a perfect company by any means. They do a lot of really dumb shit. But I have fun going to their amusement parks. And while I was down there, I saw a lot of stuff about Turning Red, which anytime Pixar releases a film, I get really excited to watch it, despite the fact that I feel like their track record as of recently hasn't been great. The previous ones that I've watched, Soul was the strongest. I felt like that really was reminiscent of films like Up and Wall-E and Ratatouille as far as like the quality of it. But then I look at films like Onward, which are just kind of disappointing. It's sort of hit or miss for me when it comes to Pixar films as of late. And I was looking forward to Turning Red. I thought that the premise was interesting, and I was disappointed in this movie. I'm not going to tell you that it's horrible by any means. It's cute, and it has a couple of entertaining moments. But for the most part, it's really forgettable, and that's unfortunate because I thought it had a lot of potential, and it just kind of fell flat on its face for me. 13-year-old May is experiencing the awkwardness of being a teenager with a twist. When she gets too excited, she transforms into a giant red panda. This plotline is really interesting in the way that it sort of explores this idea coming into beginnings of being an adult when you're a teenager, especially a teenage girl, navigating your way through middle school where kids are just absolutely horrendous and awful to one another and treat each other like garbage. You get movies like that sometimes, and it's really interesting to see how the information is conveyed. One of the best I've ever seen in my life is Bo Burnham's 8th Grade, which is just one of the best movies depicting overcoming the awkwardness of being an adolescent in middle school. And it just hits the nail on the head perfectly in every single regard. But yeah, there's been coming of age movies that have existed for forever. And there are things about this movie I really like. I feel like Disney pulls its punches back a lot of times when it comes to putting either LGBTQ characters into film or exploring topics that may not have been presented in a children's film before. And one of the things I like about this movie, and one of the things I'll give credit for, is the scene where it openly talks about May getting her period, even though it's not really her getting her period, it's her turning into the red panda. And I thought that that was really great that that was included, because I feel like Disney would normally be the company to hide something like that and not put it into a film, but it's part of life. And I know there's a lot of like conservative garbage out there saying like, you shouldn't put this into a movie. Kids don't need to know about this. But it's life, and it's a part of life, and people need to be educated on it, especially teenage girls. Like, it's really interesting that it's like parents will wait until the very last possible minute to teach their kids about something like that that's a part of their life. And so I was glad that Disney put that into this movie. There's also this idea of like teenage rebellion, where one of the parts of the film I did like was this relationship between May and her mother is really toxic. Mom is very manipulative, uses her quite a bit. She rebels against her mom multiple times in this film, and she's in the right most of the time. And you watch her and you understand that her mom is just manipulating her and treating her incorrectly. And I know there's a lot of conservative stuff online like, this is teaching kids not to listen to their parents, but there's a lot more to it. And I thought that element of the film was really good, and I'm glad that it explored those topics. The bad part of this film is it's bloated. The characters, to me, May's character, who I really wanted to love, similarly to, I talked about Encanto recently, Mirabel's character. I wanted to just love that film and that character, and I just found it to be relatively bland. And that's how I felt about this movie. There's not a lot keeping you connected to her character. She's a teenager, so she's going to be kind of annoying. This movie takes place in, I believe, 2001 or 2002. The references from that era crossing into modern day culture seem to clash a little bit too much, to where the way that the kids talk to each other doesn't always feel like that era. I mean, I was a teenager, and I was even younger than that. In 2001, I was 11. So, like, in that era, I was pretty young. I was in middle school. And the boy band thing makes sense with NSYNC and Backstreet Boys being at that time period. Problem I have with this movie, too, is there's very little stakes involved. You have this whole thing of she becomes the red panda. Her parents say that she has to do this ritual to get the red panda out of her body. Otherwise, it's going to stay there for forever. And for years and years, it's been passed down to all the women in their family. And that if she doesn't get rid of it, it's going to be there for forever. And you have these little dramatic elements introduced, but nothing that's so heavily weighted that really makes you care super deeply. Her friends that are introduced are all kind of annoying. There's this cute little thing about how she suppresses the panda from coming out when she gets too excited, to think about her friends caring about her, which I liked that element of the film. Other than that, it's just so forgettable for an hour and 40-minute film, which is upsetting. Like, when I was done, I was like, man, I feel like I'm not going to remember this in a week, which for Pixar is weird. It's not something that normally happens to me when I watch a Pixar film, and that's disappointing for me. Another thing I want to talk about is the animation style. I wasn't 100% in love with it. I'm sure that this was them trying to use a different type of animation style, but to me it just didn't look up to par to some of their other films, which was disappointing. The panda looked really great. That was one of my favorite parts. But as far as like all the other characters in the film, it just felt kind of cheap and blocky, and it didn't look very good, which surprises me for a Pixar film because normally they're on top of their game when it comes to that stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot more to say about this movie. I was really looking forward to it. I found the soundtrack to be relatively forgettable, which is unusual for Pixar. Boy band songs were kind of cute. I get the whole thing behind it. And obviously, you know, it can be said I'm not a teenage girl, but I read someone's Letterboxd review that said, I'm not a teenage girl, but I'm also not a rat or an android or an elderly man who lost his wife. Like, that's the thing. When movies are written for people, you should be able to put yourself into that circumstance and give a shit about the character, no matter who the background is. You should be able to relate to their experience in one way or another. So have you seen Turning Red yet? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was mediocre, and that's disappointing because I love Disney films. As always, if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new videos and new content for you all, and I look forward to hearing what you think of all the new videos. And as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.